Henry Hayden lived in an old stone house attached to an even older church by means of a broad archway, through which we hurtled, missing by some miracle a wild-eyed mutt which fled as we stopped in the courtyard. The church wall was high, running the length of a garden full of flowers, orchard trees, and white wrought-iron furniture. We were met at the door by a slim, dark woman of 55 or so, and ushered through a country kitchen with a set table and promising smells into a chintzy little sitting-room, which felt more English than French, where I was introduced to the octogenarian host, and we were given some kind of white wine served in antique-style glasses. Calder had already arrived, looking more pink and scrubbed than ever, and I met the two other guests, a young Huguenot painter and his younger Huguenot wife, also a painter. She had that deep, chestnut-brown hair of the French and was so pretty and so sexy. Lucky young Huguenot painter. Where the 55er fitted in, I couldn't quite determine. She seemed to have cooked the dinner, at any rate. Sipping at my drink, I looked around. The walls were bristling with the richly framed works of mine host. They were landscapes, or, if you preferred, cornscapes, for they were a powerful yellow blaze of colours in the patterns I had had the afternoon panic amidst. Here they radiated, were warm, sunny. Sam whispered that Octo sold very well, making much moolah. The host excused himself, and a little later 55 appeared in the doorway and announced the grub was up. I put down my glass and Sam dropped his. It smashed, with a muffled tinkle on the thick pile rug. Myself retrieving the shards at the very moment Octo appeared in the doorway. Teetering forward, a Gallic oath sputtering at the lips, he gazed distraught upon the fractured glass as if it had been the last heirloom of the Habsburgs. Sam said nothing, and I saw to my horror that Octo was blaming me for the decimation of the priceless set. Smiling weakly, I muttered something like, "Oh dear, awfully sorry," which was met with one of those glares from Henri that James Finlayson used to reserve for Laurel and Hardy. We took our places round the big wooden table. At the foot, in a farmhouse chair, sat Sam. On his left, at a bench end, me, and on his right, John Calder. At the head sat the birthday boy, the 55er at his right, the Huguenot opposite her, while between him and Calder sat the beautiful chestnut filly. The wine was open, ready, white and red. The white of Fouissé or Sancerre, most likely, along with what looked like a robust red Burgundy, which was, after all, the region we were nearest. Glasses raised, a toast was offered, and the Octo beamed, with just the beadiest flicker of a Finlayson shot at the unexpected guest. Then we fell to, eating and talking, the bulk of the conversation in French, and obviously all about painting. The main dish was pork, exquisitely cooked, and throughout the meal Sam, talkative and questioning by turn, was asking me about my family and a dozen odd things. The meal, washed down with scads of wine, at last was done, and coffee came and cognac. "Play something, Nick," pouted Sam, nodding past my shoulder. I glanced behind me at an old dark oak upright sporting a pair of brass candle holders. Sam knew I played a bit. "Sam, I can't." "Why not?" "Well, it's his birthday party." I dipped my head in the direction of the Octo. "Party should have music. Play, Nick. But the old boy, never mind him. He won't care anyway. It's past his bedtime. He'll be off soon. Play." Sam made some little announcement to the table while I sat at the horse's teeth, and the evening entered phase 2, with the Octo bowing out after 10 minutes, serenaded on his way with the cracked strains of Happy Birthday. The piano was in pretty fair tune, and I went through my repertoire, golden oldies, a few slow rousers, and the best of Tom Lehrer, oiled by occasional nips dispensed from a silvery bottle by 55er. "What is that?" I sang out as I rattled the ivories. "Framboise," she yelled. "You like it?" "Yes," I yelled back. "Delicieuse." It tasted divinely of raspberries, with a kick in the arse which came later. Stopping at one refill, I noticed Beckett wasn't there, and decided to go for a pee, meeting him en passant in the darkened corridor. He looked at me, the pianist manqué, placing his hands on my shoulders. "I love you, Nick," he said simply. "I want you to know that I really love you." Now, Beckett never said things like that, drunk or sober, and I said it right back to him. "I love you too, Sam," as the pair of us stood like serious children in a small, bittersweet pocket of humanity. Then, "It's at the end," nodding with the back of his head. "Thanks," I said, and went to the loo euphoric, like I'd been inducted into Cooperstown or the Légion d'honneur or something. When I returned, the Huguenot's car was leaving. Oh, Chestnut, did you never say goodbye? And Sam was slumped in his chair, staring. "Play something, Nick," he asked. "Sam, I've played my whole repertoire." "Play it again, then." "Sam, you've heard it all." "No, go on, play. Play anything. Straight out of Godot. Say something, say anything, to pass the time, fill the void, drown out the silence, like my own keep moving." Maybe Sam's black dog was wakening, gremlins stirring in the reet. I sat at once, striking up a bright rhythm and ending with some college days-type ribaldry. Sam had called for champagne, and a bottle was brought by 55er, who had stayed the course well. She set glasses, cooing bonsoir, and heading for bed as Sam wrestled with the cork, and Calder came smartly to my elbow. "You shouldn't encourage him to drink champagne," he needled. "It's not good for him. You know he has a palate condition." "And he called for it himself. You try and stop him." Calder moved forward. "Sam," he began, as a sparkling glass was thrust right to his face. "Here, John, drink this." John did as he was told, trying to beam. Sam and I swilled ours down almost at once, and Sam took the bottle and sat upon the bench to begin a refill. Pouring, he leant back the better to see, forgetting he was not on a chair, and as the bench went over, Sam, bottle and glass vanished in concert, one flicker of bemusement from behind the pebbles, before the eagle sank into its eyrie. Poised to laugh, I instead let out a shriek. "Christ, Sam, the bottle!" throwing myself across the sprawling Beckett to secure the gouting fizz. With my thumb upon the opening, I saw Sam adjust his specs, creeping to his feet with John clucking over him. Not much damage, Nick," smiled Beckett, with the biggest lozenge smile that day. "You see, I told you so," hissed Calder smugly in my ear. "I don't think we should have any more." "You're not getting any more," I said, examining the bottle. "There's only 2 big glasses left, one for me and one for Sam. Ready, Sam?" "Ah, ready, Nick. Yes," he crooned. "Let's take them in the garden." Champagne in hand, we ambled toward the orchard trees, till Sam, making an abrupt turn, marched a path through a regimented bed of yellow flowers, trampling them to the earth. He sat at one of the Chekhovian wrought-iron chairs under a tree, bolt upright. I stood horrified. "Sam!" "What?" I was immediately cut off. "They're only flowers. Only flowers, Nick." Skirting the ruined bed, I gazed heavenward, a champagne Lazarus returned from the dead, under a vast blanket of stars. "Without your love, it's a honky-tonk parade," I sang. "Without your love, it's a melody played in a penny arcade." Then began, "There was a saviour rarer than radium, commoner than water, crueler than truth. Children kept from the sun." "Be serious, Nick." It was a rap, a reprimand. All gentleness gone. Here was the searing eagle. "Be serious." "Christ, Sam, don't ask me to be serious, not after this day. Please. Just look at that sky." I'd never seen a night sky broader, darker, clearer, or more beautiful. Sam never moved. "There's nothing, Nick." A quiet, tired, rasping contempt. "There's nothing." But I sensed a metal of fear within the voice, and it ran like a strip between us. By the waters of Babylon they lay down and wept, like broken children, because there was no Zion. At a sound, I looked beyond Beckett and saw framed in the gable-end kitchen window the octo, in nightcap and gown, a senile French Malvolio, surveying the fallen bench and Sam's broken glass, croaking, "Se coucher, se coucher," to the wringing of his hands. I stared at him. Look at 80-year-old Henri wringing his hands. The bird of prey head turned sharply as it had seen its quarry scooting through the heather. A pause while the wings gathered. Then the octo's birthday condemnation was delivered. He wrung his hands at 20. He wrung his hands at 40. He wrung his hands at 60. He'll always wring his fucking hands. He rose, and we stood under the winking panoply, clasped for a second in a small embrace. Then, "I must go, Nick. I'm flutered." We turned our faces to the gate. "It's only a paper moon, Sam." "Ah," said Beckett. John Calder came out as he heard us in the courtyard. "The old boy's been down, but he's gone off to bed again." "I must go too," said Beckett, as with handshakes we each said our goodbyes. The goodbye between Sam and I, hands on shoulders, lost gazes, a look of everything and nothing, love and loss, knowing and fearing, all in silence. A last shadowy wave from Wilbur at the throttle, and the wreck virtually catapulted into the black night. It had no lights, or else they hadn't been switched on. Calder stared after it. "I worry about him in the dark. He's half blind, you know." "You don't say." "Yes, he really can't see at all at night." I shook my head. "He can't see in the fucking daylight either." A last look at the firmament from whence cometh fuck all. "But it wouldn't be make-believe if you believed in me," I sang softly to the silence.